Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure for us to welcome you here for this Shaping the Future Forum for Accenture Software. We do really appreciate you taking the time, a personal time out to be here and to explore these topic areas with us. We're very eager to continue the dialogue, I think, that started already over some of the demos earlier this morning, and really make this an exchange between all of us professionals in the software product industry today. My name is Jim Ehrhart, and I'm the Global Director for Product Engineering and for Professional Services for Accenture Software. I've been with Accenture for 25 years. Actually, that's not factually true. I started with Arthur Andersen in a division called the MICD division, the Management Information Consulting division, in 1987, at the time when the software product industry was still very nascent. There weren't that many providers out there, and there weren't that many solutions out in the marketplace, and it's grown substantially since then. And throughout that whole journey, from Arthur Andersen to Andersen Consulting to Accenture, we've been in the software business the whole time. Often with different functions and with different life cycles of products that have been introduced and been through a life cycle and phased out one way or the other, sometimes just no longer market relevant, sometimes sold to other software providers, but throughout the time always exploring and pushing the boundaries of the application software space. And I'm really excited to have the chance today to talk to you about how we see that journey continuing, where we see the application software space going, and some of the major trends that are impacting that, and how Accenture is positioned to take advantage of those, and how we think the industry overall is transforming to take advantage of those technology trends and bring value to our collective customers. So that's really the focus of today. A little bit about Accenture's journey in the software business. I hope the video gave you a little bit of an insight. Could you hear it okay? I was just sitting right in front of the speaker. I could hear it just fine. I thought it maybe been a touch loud, but bring up the energy level a little bit and wake everyone up in case the coffee or the tea didn't do that for you. So I think we're all right now, though. The volume okay? You can hear me all fine there in the back? All right. Very, very good. All right, so let's jump in. Let me tell you a little bit about the broader Accenture first. So Accenture is all about helping our clients achieve high performance. All right, that's effectively what we do. We're a $26 billion company, last annual results. And our clients are typically the leaders in their industries globally, across effectively all major industry segments. And the way that we help them achieve high performance is by bringing together a very unique set of capabilities, each one of which is not unique, but the combination or bringing them together under one organization we feel is very unique. And those are, as you see in the top of our tagline, I just put this in from our website, so you'll see that I'm presenting Accenture to you the same way we present ourselves to the market. Our consulting, our technology, and our outsourcing capabilities. And how those fit together is that based on the objective of achieving high performance, we leverage management consulting and technology consulting skills and experience to define to help our clients understand what high performance means in their particular industry. What are the leading companies in their industries achieving? What are their KPIs? What are their business metrics? And what architectures, what strategies are they utilizing to achieve those performance levels? We serve literally hundreds of clients, quite frankly, in hundreds of industry segments. And we've got very, very deep insight into what high performance means, both through that experience as well as through our own independent research. And so we think we're very, very uniquely positioned to help our clients understand what they should be shooting for, or in fact, helping them formalize, crystallize their own thinking about what innovation and what leading practices they want to employ in their industry, and shaping that into a program for change. Okay, so that's the consulting element of the story. And then you have to implement those changes. You have to position them to support those processes, to drive those business outcomes that they're looking for, and that's where the technology comes in. And this is both systems integration technology as well as software. Right? Software is a key element of enabling the business strategies that we define for our clients. And that's a very, very big part of our business. In fact, the bulk of our revenues come from those systems integration and software implementation elements of the business. And then finally, and also very importantly, comes the last part, which is the outsourcing, which is essentially providing services that sustain the changes that you've implemented and drive value of those out of those over time. All right, so that's where you're operating the processes and optimizing the processes, increasing the productivity, increasing the efficiency over time, and driving more business value out of the strategy that you've implemented in technology for the client. And so that's effectively the whole life cycle of conceiving a new direction, setting the direction, changing the organization to operate in that direction, and then assisting them along and propelling them, driving growth, driving results, performance out of that direction. That's really what we do. The outsourcing component is also becoming quite interesting, like the technology component, where we'll talk about how software is impacting that. But on the outsourcing side, SaaS, or software as a service, is now becoming a very important part of enabling that quote-unquote outsourcing. So outsourcing is perhaps a misnomer in this slide. It's really just services associated with sustaining change or driving business operations over time, because that outsourcing could in fact take the form of buying a transaction that is implemented by a service provider. Right? So you could outsource. We'll talk about a little bit more broadly the basic trends that I went through. I've gone through this 25-year journey, and I've told you about my initial foray when there wasn't a lot of an application software out there. You built everything. Custom was the way things were done. You assembled the applications, you built them all custom, each client for themselves, each customer for themselves, and deployed them and operated them themselves. That was the world of IT 25 years ago. The software story or software product story is about customers realizing or clients realizing that they can't afford to build your own unique solutions. In particular for business processes and for transactions which had no unique competitive value for them. Right? So you may as well just buy that. That's the whole SAP, ERP wave, et cetera, of buying the efficiencies, the scale, capabilities in software that you couldn't, frankly, afford to build yourself, and you probably weren't very good at, because most companies aren't technology companies and aren't particularly good at software engineering. So therefore, they buy that service as a package. However, they generally would implement that, support that in-house, operate that in-house. So this is the next and perhaps the final wave of transformation in this industry, where not only are you buying the packaged transaction in terms of the software capability, but you're buying the operations of that as well. Right? So companies are getting out of the technology business. It's moving too fast. They can't afford to sustain the skills, and they're turning to service providers and software providers to support them in the execution of their business operations, including business process transaction support. So that's really the Accenture story today, and a little bit about our journey along the way. Throughout my time, I've been through the mainframe and the mini computer waves and the client server and the e-commerce and the net-centric application wave. So all these waves of change which have changed our industry. And because we're focused on our clients and our client outcomes, we adapt quickly to this, right? We're always market relevant because we can't sell our products and we can't sell our services if we're not. And we've done pretty well over the years growing in our business. So I feel pretty comfortable that we're on the forefront, or able to keep up with the forefront of these waves of change in our industry. And right now we know that software is a key element of that journey. Right? It's key to our clients' requirements, and it's key to Accenture's continued further growth and relevance. And so that's why we're in the software industry in a very, very big way. And we're happy to tell you about that today, and we're happy to tell you about, most importantly, and perhaps what you've really come to hear about, these trends in technology which will define the future of that software journey. So let me tell you a little bit about Accenture Software within Accenture today. If you focus on just this little box in the middle for a second that's labeled Accenture Software, what is it that we do? And perhaps you got a sense for this from the video, where we walk through some of the examples of the solutions we have in different industries. But we are an industry software provider, industry solution software provider, which means that we're really analogous to what you would probably find out there today, mostly as ISVs or independent software vendors who have a niche product that is focused on solving the needs of a particular industry. Now, where Accenture comes into play is that we're interested in doing that, but we're interested in doing it very broadly within those clients. In other words, we're focused on a particular industry and the value chain within that industry and how we implement software that supports that end-to-end value chain. In other words, we want you to run your business on our software. Right? That's basically the bottom line of supporting their whole platform. So you'll see examples in the video. You'll see some more references to them today. Things like our life insurance solution, which once you install it, as long as you go and get your license and pay your paid-in capital, et cetera, you can begin operating a life insurance company the next day. You don't need anything else. You don't have to buy any other software or integrate it or whatever. You can run your business on that application. So that's really the space that we're focused in. Not all of our products cover the entire life cycle of a particular industry or value chain of a particular industry. They may be focused on particular niches. And we also have some exceptions which are more functionally oriented, and I'll cover those in a little bit more today. But that's the space we're in. So what does that mean? What are the spaces we're not in? What do we not do in the software business? We don't do platforms, technology platforms. We don't do databases. We don't do middleware. Right? There's a lot of very, very competent providers of solutions out there in the generalized technology software space. Many of you work for the leading providers of those solutions, and we leverage those, but our focus is on really tailoring them and embedding the business understanding of Accenture and enabling that high performance in that particular industry flavor or that particular industry variant. That's really what we're all about. Now let me tell you about some of the things that Accenture has in this space which are perhaps unique and certainly distinguished from most ISVs or most independent software vendors. One is we've been industry aligned and focused or organized by industry for as long as we've existed, and which is over 40, 50 years. And that means we have a very, very deep insight into particular industries and particular process models, organization designs, challenges, opportunities within particular industry space. So we bring that deep insight into a particular industry. All of our software products ultimately roll up into the P&L of one of our industry leads. So that software that software strategy is defined by what we see as the requirements out in a particular industry and are backed up by, as I said before, all this experience, our knowledge bases, our research in particular industry performance. So that's this high-performance business model and database that you see there in the corner, as well as our frontline industry experience and skills. So while many software product companies might have a few people doing product management, defining their roadmap, gathering requirements, doing competitive analysis, at any one point in time, we will have 15,000 people or 20,000 people out working in banking. And so the feedback and our inputs, our feedback mechanism loop for understanding requirements, challenges within that industry, we've got a pretty good radar. We've we've got a pretty good view of what's going on and what the requirements are because we see it every day. We see the gaps in the products that our clients have. We see the integration challenges we have. We see where their processes break down, where data gets missing or corrupted or becomes difficult to interpret. And that feedback pours back into our product managers to help them craft the solutions for those industry solutions. Okay, we also invest heavily in R&D. And it's because, for example, and you'll hear about it today, when we talk about mobility, my personal interest within Accenture is understanding its impact and implications for our software products and how do we want to build that into our products. However, we've got a very large consulting practice, as I already said, and they're out there working with our clients about the implications of mobility for everything, for their business, for their customers, for their whatever, but not necessarily from a software perspective. But our R&D is funded by the services business, a very large services business, and they need that deep insight into those technologies, and Accenture Software benefits from that. We tap into that, we get the insights from that, and integrate it into our products. So a small ISV typically would have some good understanding of technology trends and be able to build, release after release, a decent mobile architecture. Right? We can do that, in weeks because we essentially tap into what's going on within the rest of Accenture, and the R&D funding for that is minimal from a software perspective. So it's a somewhat unfair, you might call it, but a somewhat beneficial positioning of the software company. It's derivative of the rest of Accenture. Now, furthermore, we're also part of the Accenture ecosystem of partners. So one unique challenge we have, I don't know, is there anybody here from SAP here today? Okay, welcome. So we're probably one of the premier SAP, I guess we are the premier systems integrator of SAP globally in the world. We win every Pinnacle Award, whatever, year after year after year. And we've got a great relationship. We've got a great business together. Some of our industry software solutions are built on top of SAP. Some of them compete with SAP. Right? And that's just the nature of the business we're in today. I don't know, the technology space is the concept of coopetition. Right? Everybody both being partners and customers and competitors and alliances with every player in the marketplace. But the key point is that we're large. All right, so for every major platform, software platform, Accenture is probably one of the leading integrators in the world. That gives us pretty good insight into what things those products do very, very well and that we shouldn't try to do. Because competition is brutal. Perhaps you all are aware of that. It's very, very hard to have market-winning software because the competition is so tough. And so it's very good insight to know what to avoid. Furthermore, it's very good insight to know which partners you can rely on, or which partners you should incorporate into your technology. And so that's an advantage we have because of our network as a 250,000 person organization out there doing services with every technology provider, effectively, every major one in any case. We tap into that. Accenture is one of the leading implementers of Salesforce.com. So when we do our SaaS-based solutions, we've got a pretty good idea what those look like and what they need to do or how they should leverage cloud infrastructure that's already out there or architectures that are available, what they can do and what they can't do. For example, many clients of ours are looking for us to implement SaaS-based solutions or cloud-based solutions, including on their own cloud, and aren't particularly aware, for example, that many cloud providers have extremely limited liability. So if you may decide you want to run your business on a particular cloud because it's very cheap from an infrastructure perspective, however, if that infrastructure is not available, getting $29.95 to $29.95 refunded on your credit card for the server that you paid for last month, doesn't help your non-functioning business. So there's issues as cloud is adopted, as SaaS is adopted. There are issues and limitations as to where you can leverage it, where you can take it to run your business. and we leverage that insight. Now finally, one core element of our additional advantage as being a part of the broader Accenture is our global reach, our global presence. We have offices in 50 countries, services professionals in over 50 countries, and most independent software vendors in particular, if they grow up a solution, it's generally very good for their local market or their region, and they struggle to enter other markets, especially geographically diverse markets. They have to find a partner, they have to build up skills, et cetera, and it's a very challenging process to expand globally for a software provider. But if you've already got 300, 400, 500 people in Chile, it's an awful lot easier to launch your product in Chile than it is if you don't have anybody and you've never been there. So we leverage Accenture's broader global network and allows us to deploy software and support it in effectively all major geographies of the world. Also, very important, and one of the reasons we're here today here is, of course, the global scale of the delivery center network, which we have, which now has over 70,000 professionals in India alone. We're also the largest technology organization in the Philippines, over 13,000, 14,000 people in the Philippines, over 3,000 people in China. So our delivery, over 5,000 people in Brazil. So our delivery network, our scale delivery centers give us access to an awful lot of software engineering talent. Not is suited for software industry. Much of that talent is service oriented and isn't necessarily focused on being software engineers. They have other roles or aspirations in mind. However, from that breadth of people, in particular considering the number of lateral hires we have into Accenture, we have a very, very deep pool of engineering talent that we can tap into. And of course, it's architected to be cost effective from a global engineering cost perspective. Okay, so that's how Accenture Software fits and how we leverage the broader Accenture ecosystem. Now, what do we do then? What is our architecture of our products? What do it take to market? So we build commercial software, which can be licensed, and for which you have license and maintenance, and increasingly other business models as well. So in addition to the traditional on-premise implementation, we can implement our software in private clouds. We can implement them on the public clouds. We can implement them and operate them as a managed service. We can implement them in a cloud that the customer operates, or as a managed service, or as a SaaS-based solution. Or, in fact, embedded in a broader BPO offering where the client is paying very specific for the business transaction as opposed to any technology. There's no technology view to it per se. So that power of choice we think is very, very important and is architected into all of our products, or is being architected into all of our products. So that's a little bit about our positioning within Accenture. So what is it that we're really hoping to enable? And again, the answer is the outcomes, the business outcomes that our customers are looking for. I've been through a couple of these points before, but these are the challenge areas which we understand our clients have based on our working with them as a service provider as well as a software company over many, many years. So they need functionally rich, relevant application solutions. Right? They want it to be out of the box, relevant to their industry, focused on their core processes as well as the pain points in their current processes. So functional completeness and richness is requirement number one. Obviously, businesses today require cost-effective implementation at speed, which is the whole story or the driver for a software solution as opposed to a custom solution in any case, and that's enabled through software. Now, one important challenge that our clients have is that, again, we offer a very broad functional solutions that cover a lot of process space in a particular client. However, it's very rare that we implement them in a greenfield solution in in an environment where there's no other technology. Obviously, they have existing solutions. They need to migrate. They need to upgrade what they have and migrate it to our solution. So the architecture of the software solutions is key. And a monolithic architecture is almost unsellable today for a software product. While you want that breadth of functional coverage, you have to architect your industry software solutions in a component modularized fashion, which can be migrated to piece by piece. So SOA architectures, are very important, and the functional architecture as well as technical architecture, making that modular, configurable, easily integratable is absolutely core to having winning solutions in this space. If you have all the functional richness in the world, but you can't fit into the customer environment, as much as they like your software, they have no path to it. They can't afford a 3-year integration, transformation, migration journey to get to your solution. So it has to be modular so that they can implement it in pieces and drive business value that pays for the business case to continue the transformation journey. Right? So that's very important architecture element of the solutions. And then finally, our clients may not be great technologists in many cases. However, they are aware of technology trends, and they are aware of the promises that means for them in terms of running their business, serving their customers, driving their optimization in their business. So they're aware of those technology trends, and they're looking for the software provider to enable them. Right? And that's what we're here to talk about today. What are those trends, and how can we apply those technologies to bring unique capabilities and help our clients stay relevant, our customers stay relevant in their respective marketplaces by, in fact, buying software where these technologies are embedded in that software. So they get it by nature of implementing one of our software solutions. They don't have to implement the technology for technology's sake, because most CIOs in most non-technology companies will never be able to sell that kind of a business case to their boards. Right? And it's just not a practical proposition for them. All right, so a little bit about how Accenture Software fits. Just a quick summary. We're 7 business lines organized by industry. About 50 products in there. We're represented in 38 countries. About 2,400 people within Accenture work in the software business. So if you do a quick math, you'll see that that's roughly about 50 people per product. Now that range varies dramatically because the scale and scope of our products varies dramatically, but you'll get the idea that, frankly, that's about a typical ISV. That's not dissimilar from what you would expect if you find a small software company out there that's very deep and rich, but focused in a particular industry. So that's a little bit about how we built up. Some of the solutions here where we, again, provide end-to-end life cycle within industries, our life insurance platform I already mentioned, claims processing in the property and casualty area. Duck Creek is an acquisition. That was the firm that we acquired, which is a policy administration software, also in the property and casualty insurance space. Banking solutions and financial services, freight and logistics, which allow companies in logistics industry, so shipping, ocean carriers, airline freight carriers, to essentially manage their operations. And CAS, which is, again, another acquisition in the CRM space for consumer goods companies. So those are some of the end-to-end solutions that we have. We also have, as I mentioned before, third-party enhancer software. Again, this is Accenture IP. We license it to clients. It rides on top of an existing technology, many of them SAP-based, several of them Oracle-based solutions predominantly. And those cover, again, areas like banking, financial services being a core focus for us, but also some interesting ones which are not industry-specific. For example, human capital management. These are extensions on top of SAP HR, which provide richer functionality or unique requirements in the HCM space. All right, so where does that bring us? Where are we today? I thought I'd share our strategy. Not every company comes and says, okay, this is our strategy, let me share it with you. But when you've been in the consulting business for as long as I have, you realize that the difference between having a strategy on a piece of paper and executing a strategy are two entirely different things. And you can give away the paper all you want with little fear, in most cases, but not all cases, little fear that based on that piece of paper, somebody is going to put you out of business by replicating your strategy. Because it's really, strategy is execution, as we say in Accenture. And so I'll share with you our strategy. If you guys choose to compete with us, good luck, and we'll see you in the marketplace. But I feel pretty comfortable and confident, and I want to share it because I think it's very relevant to today, why we're here today, and the dialogue that we should be having as competitors, collaborators in this industry. So what are we looking for? Our strategy is based on increasing sales. That's our objective. And by sales, I mean license revenue, I mean maintenance revenue, and increasingly SaaS revenue from our software products. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that by having the most relevant products in the marketplace today. So our time to market, our ability to provide relevant solutions to the marketplace when the marketplace needs them ahead of our competitors is very key. So we need flexibility, adaptability, agility to get functionality out to our customers quickly and evolve our products ahead of our competition. And we want to differentiate. And increasingly, that differentiation is based on the way that technology, the way you use technology, in particular the way you use innovative and new technologies. Right? So I'll back up and we'll come to that in a second. So how is it that we go about doing this? How do we achieve time to market and differentiation? We do it in three ways. One, we leverage Accenture. And I've already explained to you how Accenture Software leverages the rest of Accenture, takes advantage of the rest of Accenture. I didn't mention this explicitly, although I alluded to it, the best technologists. Software engineering, software product engineering is different from transaction processing, outsourcing services, in just any services and maintenance business, for example, in particular, outsourcing. You need a different kind of person. You need a different type of engineer. It's usually very, very focused professionals, deeply skilled, not particularly leveraged, not necessarily particularly leveraged. Okay, so it's a different delivery model than the services business. In particular, a different delivery model than the services business that we execute here from India. By the way, I've been based here. I live in India. I live in Bangalore. I've been here for 6 years, so I can say that with a little bit of confidence. So we're looking for the best software engineers. They build the best products with the highest quality. Okay. Now, then we use reuse. So we have, I talked about our 7 businesses, our 50 products. Independently, each of those products has a certain cost to engineer, has a certain cost to maintain. And in particular, it has a certain cost to implement something like a mobile architecture. However, if you build that once, generally, depending on how well you architect it, you can reuse that across all of your products. Right? And so that's one of our key strategies as well, is building architecture frameworks, architecture components like mobility, like analytics capability, building that once and leveraging it across our entire product space. So that's how we achieve the differentiation, incorporate the new technologies quickly and make them relevant to the marketplace. So what is it that we're trying to enable through this strategy? Or what do we want from a technology perspective, our software to be able to leverage from a technology perspective? And in particular, right now, it's 4 key areas: mobility, cloud and SaaS, data and analytics, and process automation. Those are the 4 things that will be differentiated in our capabilities vis-a-vis our competitors' products in the marketplace. Not necessarily on each point in the most extensive degree, but in aggregate across our product space, those are the areas. So today, because of time limitations, we had to focus a little bit on, we picked 3 that we're going to explore in a little bit more detail. mobility, cloud, and data and analytics, and tell you a little bit about more what Accenture sees happening in these space, and then tying it back to how we're leveraging it in our software, as well as making recommendations to all of you about how those can impact your products and your strategies as well. So that's really what we're all about today. Just drilling into them a little bit, obviously, for cloud, both the technology enablement of it, but as well the business model enablement of it. You know, cloud and SaaS are not particularly challenging technology requirements. So your software needs to be architected in a one-to-many fashion, or you need to run a lot of instances of it. From the point of view of the client, they don't know necessarily, so that's not a big architecture challenge to be able to support that. It's actually, frankly, more of a business model challenge than it is a technology challenge. In particular, if you're a software company which its whole business model is on-premise implementation of the software, right? You're not a services company. You're not used to operating it. You're not there when a transaction is blocked or the server is down or whatever. That's not generally instantly, at least, your problem. Right? You get a ticket and it's maybe in a P1 or whatever, and somebody jumps into action, but that's rare. You're generally not in the services business. To make your software cloud relevant and to operate as a SaaS provider, you are in the services business. Your business model is completely changed, right? And that's no trivial distinction. So that's something that those exploring the SaaSification of their products need to clearly understand. Mobile-enabled solutions go everywhere. In our software, predominantly, it's about enabling enterprise mobility, so field forces and sales reps and things like that. But increasingly, and perhaps for many of you, it's about consumer, access to the consumer, and always-on, always-connected capability to your customers. Most enterprises aren't particularly well-suited to operate in an always-on fashion. Generally at night, for example, they have downtime. We in India know that from supporting our colleagues in the rest of the world, that we're always on, but that's a different story. So we'll explore mobility a little bit and the implications for what does it mean in enterprise elements of the solution, and what does it mean from customer, from connecting to consumers as well. Now, analytics is a very important trend as well. It's about allowing the customer to get insight from the information and from the data that you're capturing within your software. So providing that next level of analysis, providing that next level of insight into the information, being predictive, helping them manage proactively their business is really the promise of analytics. Now, in addition, there's 1,000 other components to analytics. One trend that I haven't talked about because it's not particularly relevant to our software products yet is the whole social thing. Right? A couple of you guys may know that Facebook IPO'd yesterday. Right? A bit of I wouldn't call it a dud, but it certainly didn't have the ecliptic impact that many people thought it would have. Who knows? It may still. In any case, the trend around the social, all the social aspects of software, I'm not covering here. But most importantly, behind the social element is the analytics. So the customer behavior, the customer insight, the view of the customer, their interest, et cetera, et cetera. That's very relevant in the consumer space. We're not going to talk about that here, only somewhat indirectly. But that data, what we call the data exhaust, right? The information that even comes out of the execution of business transactions. How frequent were they executed? When were they executed? Under what conditions were they executed? Understanding from just the observation of the operation of your application, information, gleaning of information and insight, which the application itself was never intended to provide, right, is a very interesting challenge. And it speaks to some interesting opportunities and requirements about how you architect your application. Right? If you're writing to your log files, everything that happens, right, there's a data store there. There's information, data there that you can derive very, very important information from. you know in this region, this transaction is never used. Why? It's a core part of our process. There's something wrong there. They're not executing your standard process. There's an issue there that is preventing them from executing. And you know nothing about the transaction. The transaction is working fine. From an operation of the application perspective, there's nothing to be done. But from a business operations insight perspective, just the data about the data is important business information. And analytics unlocks the potential of that for you. So just a different spin on the analytics story. We'll explore it more in detail today. And as I said before, we're not going to talk about business process management, but of course, one of the core concepts of application software is automation of business process. But generally, that application ends at one point. Right? There's workflows that need to be enabled. There's integration. There's mobile users. And that process execution or orchestration, both within one enterprise, but more importantly, across a supply chain, across various companies collaborating on a particular process, is a very important capability that perhaps we'll save for the next Shaping the Future Forum for Software. I have here just one example of a SaaS solution which we have in operation today. As I mentioned before, claims processing is one of the software applications that Accenture has and sells to our clients. It's licensed, installed on-premise for most of our clients. However, there are certain elements of processes within an insurance provider which are highly cyclical or extremely variable in their transaction flow. And first notice of loss is a very important one. Essentially what this is, in particular, and a good example is if a hurricane hits the east coast of the United States. If you're a property insurer, the day before, if things went splendidly for your business, you had 0 claims. Nothing happened. Everything worked fine. Maybe there was a car accident and you got a claim for that. However, the day after this hurricane, you're going to have about 250,000 users hitting your system. Now, as you know, when you're operating an environment, having a system, you've got to be scaled for your peak. In retail, you've got to be ready for the holiday season. In insurance, and especially in claims processing, that's your peak. You just had 250,000 users that didn't exist the day before. All right? So that's called a spike in usage, and you have to be able to cater for that. And up till now, most insurance companies did that by having an infrastructure. They would shut down other apps, things that weren't critical, redeploy the application into those other spaces to get ready for it, because hurricanes generally, are coming. Earthquakes, you don't. But, so you have the same issue. You have to react more quickly. But you still have to have that, and your business is disrupted. So if you have that on the cloud, and you're leveraging especially public cloud infrastructure, you can go from 0 to 250,000 transactions with zero, this is slightly exaggerated, 0 preparation, 0 cost. Slightly exaggerated for point of effect. But the fact of the matter is, Accenture actually operates this service. And they're only paying per transaction, and only when those transactions occur. Right? So from the point of view of the customer, the cost of having that capability is 0. It's embedded somewhat in the transaction cost, but that's an example of a perfect value proposition in the SaaS space, and how you need to architect elements of your solutions to enable SaaS in order to generate value and solve a business problem. And effectively, all of our products have elements of SaaS solutions being architected into them. I won't cover this, but Gartner reinforces much of our view about the value associated with SaaS solutions and the trends in this space. I'm not going to cover this for each of the individual products. Let me just wrap up or come us back to where we are here today. This is a picture of our software solution center, so where we have software engineers actually building our solutions. It's spread out globally. That's a bit of our network nature in Accenture. We use a mesh network topology with nodes around the world. This gives us customer client centricity. So we're near to our customers where these solutions are generally conceptualized. Much of the product management capability takes place in various onshore geographic locations. But of course, a very, very high concentration here back in India, in particular as it relates to product engineering and maintenance and support, as well as operations of the SaaS solutions. So we're leveraging the engineering talent that we know exists in this marketplace, those unique profiles that I talked about before of very, very expert software architects and software engineers, and the broader technology capabilities of India as well, extensively. As well, as I said before, we have Manila capabilities in Manila and spread out geographically. But why we're here, why I'm here, why I'm based here is our core engineering capability and the deep skills that are available here, the relevance of India to our industry, the relevance of India to driving those technology trends that I talked about before. So with that, I'll wrap up and hand over to the next presentation, and wrap up finally by just saying welcome. Thank you again for coming. We hope that this today is quite relevant for you and insightful for you, and look forward to continuing the dialogue in the future.